This is T-Boz from TLC. You're listening to the X and Y Show. Hope you enjoy.
The opinions expressed on the X and Y Show are the sole opinions of the host. Please note, there is no intentional desire to offend any member of the listening audience. With that said, if you still feel offended, tough shit.
It's time for the X and Y Show with your host, Mr. Roosevelt. He talks about man topics, lady topics, and relationships. He talks about love, sex, and infidelities. He even gives good tips. There is no other show that compares to the X and Y Show.
Oh yeah, sit back, take your clothes off, and relax. It's time for the X and Y Show, where real relationship issues are talked about and addressed. The only place on the planet that tackles the topics that everyone wants to talk about, but no one is brave enough to address. Nothing escapes X and Y, baby. Now, here's your host, Roosevelt Colbert.
And greetings. Welcome to another segment of the XY Show, and I'm your host, Roosevelt. So I have been gone for 2 weeks, and just want to rap to you for a second. It was not planned. The reason why I went away for 2 weeks, the first week I was like, something happened and I ran out of time, and I was like, okay, I'll do a double episode, and catch up. And then I had a gout flare. For those of you listen to the show, I've had gout flares periodically. I don't get them much, but when I do, it hurts. It hurts. Let me tell you something. This time was a doozy. This is the first time it hit me in my knee. For those of you who don't know what gout is, Google it. Because it's too much to explain it. But basically, it hits you in your joints and it hurts. Any joint, elbow, hand, foot, ankle, wrist, anywhere. So usually it hit me in my big toe, but it really haven't hit me there in a minute. It kind of hits me in my foot, like the top of my foot, or if it's really bad, my ankle. But this time it hit me in my ankle and my knee. So this time, about a week and a half ago, I couldn't walk. I could not walk. Had to walk. Had to finally make it to the. I did a teledoc, which that ain't shit. That's not nothing. Let's just say they can't do anything. They can prescribe the weakest medicine. They can't really do anything. They can do something to alleviate or try to help alleviate. They really can't. But I was desperate. I couldn't walk. Right. So he finally prescribed something, and I went to Walgreens and got it, which that was a doozy. I had to go to the drive-through, but I had to get a cane because I couldn't walk. So I had to order the cane online and do curbside. I mean, it was a treat. Couldn't walk, couldn't sleep because I was in pain. So I wasn't recording no podcast. Sorry. So what ended up happening, I couldn't take it no more. I ended up going to the ER. And let me tell you something, folks. If you ever get in some pain or you suffer from gout and you just can't take it no more, go to the ER. Listen to me now. You don't listen to me on relationships and stuff, especially you women, you stubborn women. But listen to me when I say this. If you're ever in pain and you can't take it no more, which I was. I hadn't slept in like 4 days because I was in pain all day, all night. So I got tired. I couldn't do it no more. I couldn't walk, barely making it to the bathroom. And it was, go to the ER and tell them that you want some Toradol. Toradol, Torodol. And let me tell you something. That stuff, it is liquid gold. It don't take long. See, the other stuff, the steroids and the pills and even the Percocets, because they give you Percocets in such low dosage. I mean, you damn near got to be having your arm cut off to give you real good Percocets. And now you have to have a congressional order to even get Percocets. So it's like that those pills, they take too long. They got to, when you take a pill, they got to get in your system and stay in your system 48 hours before it starts to kick in. Toradol, 5 minutes. I'm not exaggerating. 5 minutes because it goes to the IV. When they put that Toradol in you, it's almost good as having a nut. I'm telling you, the pain went from like a 10 to a 9, 8.5, 7, 6.5, 5, 4, 3. I mean, the pain went away. And this doctor was a good doctor because he gave me Toradol and he gave me some morphine just to give it a little more punch. And, man, oh goodness, that shit feels so good. Oh, man, I'm not going through that shit no more. So I got to start eating better, staying away from foods that flare. Even though I don't eat beef, I don't eat pork, I do drink, but I don't drink beer, and that flares gout. But any alcohol really flares gout. But I'm not stopping that. But there's other stuff I can work on. I was eating, this month I was eating a lot of fried foods, and I think that's what triggered it. I was eating fried chicken, fried wings, fried tenders, and I was going crazy, fried food, and I think that's what triggered it. But anyway, that is why I did not record 2 weeks in a row. I was in serious pain. I missed a week from work. I mean, I was out for the count. But I am feeling good now. The pain's gone. I'm good. I'm blessed now. It feels good that that's just a temporary thing. There's a lot of people out there can't walk ever again. Sometimes you got to take your blessings, stop complaining so much. There's people out there that, wish they could walk after a week, or we can, have some people that will never walk again, or some people that's always in pain no matter what, So, I'm blessed. I'm not in that case. I can walk. I'm not in pain. I'm not in chronic pain. Don't need a, cane to walk. You got to count your blessings. Stop complaining so much. So anyway, just wanted to tell you that's what happened to Roosevelt. Roosevelt was in some serious pain. The gout is no joke. If those of you know people with gout, parents or friends, they're not exaggerating when they when they say they're down and they can't do something. Trust me, believe them, because that stuff, it really hurts. All right, so without further ado, I'm just jumping. I'm not going to read any letters tonight because it's been 2 weeks. So I'm going to just jump into tonight's episode, which is, would you settle when looking for a wife or husband? So I guess what I'm saying is, would you lower your standards just to get married? Would you lower your standards just to get married? And a lot of you women out there are already saying, oh, no, I'm not settling. Women love to use that word. I'm not settling. And that's why a lot of you are alone and will be alone for the rest of your lives, because you won't settle. But it's not settle, right? When we have expectations, when we're looking for that one, our soulmates, the person that we're going to spend the rest of our lives with, and men are, guilty of this as well. Usually it's a thing where we want this perfect person, right? The perfect body, the smartest person. They have to have a good job and educated and good hair and good skin and, no blemishes. I mean, they're usually perfect, right? Your ideal woman that you dream about, big titties, the whole gambit. And unfortunately, that is, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's extremely rare. I mean, you ask your friends, you ask your parents on, when they got married, was your parents the ideal mate when they were looking to get married? Like when your mom, if you ask her, like, Mom, was Dad who you dreamed about since she was a little girl? Now, some women might say, yeah, he's, me and him dated since we were in the 5th grade and we just knew. Yeah, okay, it happens. That's the exception to the rule. Most of the time, the person that a person marries is nothing like they dreamed. It's totally different than what they dreamed about for all their lives. But that's why they're married, because they were willing to not settle, but to be real with themselves. That's what I call it. To come back to reality. There's nothing wrong with fantasizing, like me. Those of you know I've listened to this show. I like big titties, right? Not huge titties like H or G and all of that. But just double D. Maybe triple, depending on how tall she is. But double D. That's all I want. Double D titties, big titties. I like hair pussies and, but that you can't see that until later. But, really, I'm not that picky. I just like big titties. But let me show you the difference between me and most women. Okay. Now, I like big titties. And for me to see a woman with big titties, there's a good chance that I will approach her. If I see a woman with Tic Tacs, the women, the women, what I'm talking about, the flat chested, the little bitty bitties, you wear a bra, but it really don't have anything to put in it. Some women wear bras and they just got a nipple. They just got the nipple in the bra. They don't have nothing. Little Tic Tacs. I'm not going to approach that woman, but I'm going to tell you something. If I meet a woman like that and I'm digging her and vibing with her and she's a good woman, good attitude, smell good, very nice woman, I would probably more than likely come down off of my big titties desire and get with that woman. I would kick it with her. I'm not settling. I'm just coming back to reality. It would be nice to have a woman with big titties, right? But it's not a requirement for me. It's a preference. That's all it is. It's a desire. It's something I would love to look at, something I would love to put in my mouth, But it's not a requirement. And that's the difference between me, or really most men, and women. Women are, on the other hand, I'm not saying all women, but a lot of women are not so easily swayed from their desires. A woman, if she wants a guy that's 6'4", dark and handsome, six pack, chiseled chin, something making well beyond in six figures, the whole gambit. I mean, really a true Prince Charming. Most women are not going to come down from that. Most women are not going to come back to reality. They want their Prince Charming, no matter what. And they'll go to their graves looking for it. That's why you see so many women walking around, attractive women walking around single, because they are waiting for Prince Charming. They are waiting for a person that doesn't exist. They are waiting for a person that is damn near impossible to meet. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's damn near impossible. And a lot of those women are women who are not even, 10s or 9s or 8s. So they wouldn't have a chance to get with a woman if he did come along. If Prince Charming, if the Denzel or Brad Pitt did come along, they couldn't get him because they're not even, up to the standards of those men. They're not a 10, they're not a 9, they're not an 8. To even go into the pool to get those type of men. You have a lot of women out there that are purely delusional when it comes to finding a mate, finding a husband. And I don't get it. Why, you ask yourself, why do you want someone who's perfect? Why do you want someone who's I expect not to find someone that is close to what I feel is a wife material, especially in these days and time. Because most women are just crazy. And I'm not being mean, I'm just being real. I expect not to find that. So I'm willing to come, I don't need a 10. I don't need a 9. I don't need an 8. I don't even need a 7. I can get with a 6. I can get with a 5. As long as they are a nice woman, a clean woman who wash her ass, a nice woman who supports me, a nice woman who is with me and protects, protects me from a lot of bull, someone who's in my corner, someone who contributes to our lives. I can be with that woman. I would rather be with that type of woman than be with a 10 who's bringing nothing but big titties. I would rather be with that kind of woman than be with my desired woman of a 10. That's the difference. A lot of women, they want these men and, these perfect men, and they come along, and a lot of times, those people are not nice people because they know they are of the small percentage of being, very attractive. A lot of, they know that they are in a small market. So a lot of them are not nice. So a lot of you are willing to compromise the way a man treats you, and you don't care because as long as you have that perfect man on your arm, the doctor who looks good, who's 6'4", blue eyes, brown eyes, tall, dark, handsome, 6-pack, drives a Lamborghini, the whole thing, you know what I'm talking about. Long as you have that man on your arms, you don't care how he treats you, if he respects you, what kind of man is he? Because looks does not dictate how good a man is. Looks does not dictate how good a woman is. And I think that is what society has lost grip on. Everything is about looks. And don't get me wrong, I like looks. I like look. I like the physical aspects of a person, of course. But it's not everything. And I think a lot of people are hung up on those looks before they even know the person's name. There's a show, I know some of you have seen it on the internet. They usually have a single person come out with the host. And like, for example, if it's a single man, he would come out and there'll be like, I don't know, like 10 women with balloons. And they have the balloons, and if they like the guy, they don't pop them. But if they don't like the guy, then they pop their balloons. So a lot of times, if you watch those episodes, as soon as the guy comes out, it's like 2 or 3 women that it immediately pops their balloons. Immediately. And I just think that's very shallow, because, you don't know anything about the person. You don't even know their name. Before the host even asks their name, the women pop their balloons. You don't know anything about them. And they pop their balloons. And it's just so shallow. And it's disappointing, And, when they ask them why did they pop the balloon, well, they come up with some dumb shit. Well, we just he just didn't have a vibe. He didn't have a vibe. Most of them can't even spell vibe. Probably. How do you know? How do you know what type of vibe a person has if you don't even know their name? You haven't even talked to them. You don't know anything about them. And that's the kind of stuff they be saying. He didn't have when you walk in a room, that person got the vibe. He didn't have that. Physical attraction. That's another thing they say. The physical attraction just wasn't there. He's handsome though. It's very sad, very shallow, but that's what is going on in the dating realm. That's why when I have, when I get together with my single guys and my married guys, be complaining and I wish I was still single like you guys. And I'm like, man, shut up. You have a nice wife. What do you want to be single for, bro? There's nothing out here. Let me repeat that. Let me say those 3 words or 4 words. 5. There is nothing out here. Let me say it again. There is nothing out here. People always wishing they can get on the other side, thinking the other side is greener. And it's not. It's not. There's nothing out here. Trust me, folks. Nothing. So, if you're married, you should feel blessed that you actually have someone in your corner, because, being single is not all what it's cracked up to be. I'm just putting it out there. And that's coming from a man. I'm coming from I'm a man saying this. Being single is not what it's all cracked up to be. It really isn't. So I'm going to ask my own question. Would I be willing to lower my standards to get married? Absolutely. And I already said that in my example, but it's just not the big titties. It's all other things, that I find attractive about a woman, but I'm not picky. But, yes, I would be willing to. I'll give you another example. I'm not particularly attracted to Asian women. I've said that before. And it's not because nothing else, but it's just usually they're little, very little, like little, 90 pounds, 100 pounds. And me, I like the Amazons. I like the the tall women with like Amazons. 5'11", 6 feet. 6'1". Little bones on them. A little thick. I like women who, when if I hug them, I don't feel like I'm gonna hurt them. And that's not Asian women. Most Asian women I see, though, they're short. Like 5 feet, 5'1", and they're, very little. You feel like you hug them, you might crack them. So I'm not particularly attracted to them for that reason. But I'm going to tell you something. If I meet a nice Asian woman who has her head on her shoulders, who's clean, somebody who washed their ass, very intelligent, funny, sense of humor, and not even a 10. She's a 5. And if I meet someone like that who just happened to be Asian, I would be willing to lower my standards and get with her. Absolutely. Even though I know when I go to the house, I would. Some, I don't know what I'm eating in there, So, I will be willing to go through that. I'm not picky. I will be willing to lower my standards to get with a good woman. That's all I'm saying. I will be willing to lower my physical standards to get with a good woman. That's what I'm saying. So you have to ask the question to yourself, are you, particularly ladies, are you willing to lower your physical standards to get with a good man? Ask yourself that question. Be truthfully. And there's no need of lying because you're not hurting anyone but yourself. Are you willing to lower your physical standards to get with a good man? So that means if you want a man who's 6'4", dark and handsome, 6-pack in shape, somebody go to the gym 5 days a week, somebody making well into 6 figures, someone who's chiseled face and, just that 10, that Denzel or young Denzel, Brad Pitt, you know what I'm saying, Ben Affleck and all of. Instead of getting with them, you have to get with a regular Joe Smo. He's not 6'4", he's 5'7". He's not making 6 figures, he's making 60. He don't have a 6-pack, he got a gut, but he's a good man. He's a really good man. He's a good provider. He's caring. He's romantic. He treats you like a queen. Would you be willing to lower your physical standards to get with a good man? You have to ask yourself that. Truly. For those of you who have already answered the question and saying absolutely not, you probably will never get married. And I don't mean sound so married, so mean, but that's reality. Because you're looking for, 9 times out of 10, you're looking for a person that either doesn't exist, or if they do exist, you probably won't get them. Because a lot of you are beyond your prime right now. You're not in your 20s anymore. You're not even in your 30s. Some of you are not even in your 40s, and you still with that bullshit. Looking for Mr. Perfect. Those of you who have answered the question saying, no, I am not willing to come down on my standards. A lot of you women would say settle. You will probably never get married. And don't tell me that bullshit that, I'm not settling for anyone. If that's meant to be, then that's the way it is. It's not meant to be that way. It's the way that you make it. Nobody's meant to be alone. Everyone needs somebody. Men need women, women need men. Period. There's no in between. Nobody wants to be alone. So don't tell me that bullshit that you're content with being alone for the rest of your life. Don't tell me that. That's bullshit. And that episode I had last week, those of you ladies and you guys too, you get older, you get in your 70s and you're in pain. What are you going to do? You're old man, you're old woman. What are you going to do? You don't have a family. You don't have kids. You don't even have siblings anymore. They passed on or whatever the case may be. Some of you haven't talked to your family in years, so you don't even have them. So you're going to be alone and you're going to be old. And there's nobody going to be there because you are looking for Mr. Perfect or Miss Perfect. So before you answer that question, you better think about that. Think about your future. And I ask again, are you willing to lower your physical standards to get with a good man or a good woman? And I'm not saying that you have to get with somebody ugly. I'm not saying that. And beauty is an eye of the beholder anyway, right? But I'm not saying that you have to get with an ugly person. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying instead of a 10, maybe you should look for a 5. Maybe you should look for a 6. Instead of somebody with a 6-pack, you got a little gut. Maybe you should get him. Instead of someone with big titties, maybe you should get that lady with the Tic Tacs, the flat chest. Think about what your future may hold if you are not willing to be real with yourself. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, hope you enjoyed tonight's episode. Be sure, if you don't hear from me in 2 weeks, something's wrong. But you can always catch up on my old episodes. Some that you may have missed. They are all on my website, which is www.thexyshow.com. You can find them all there. I'm also on all my social media. I'm on Threads, Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook. Everything's on my website. Be sure to check it out. And I'm currently working on a new store with all my new shirt designs. It will be up by September 1st, and that is a promise. It will have Halloween designs, Christmas. I think I even have a Thanksgiving, and other general designs. So everything will be there in the store that I have. So be sure to check that out on September 1st. It will be on my website as well. That is it. Without further ado, and I guess that's it until next week. I'm glad to be back. It's good to not be in pain anymore. Pain is a pain. Without further ado, I will see you next week. And I want you always to remember, you don't have to have anyone that's perfect, just someone who's good. And you cannot have love or lust without X and Y. Later.
You've been listening to The X and Y Show with your host, Roosevelt Colbert, the place where real relationship issues are talked about and addressed. Join us next time. You can now put your clothes back on. Or not.